Let's go back in the Russian history and see what was happening before and after the revolution. Essentially, the same. The destabilizing of the society was in full gear. And as it says in the Bible, there are times when normal is declared to be not normal. And what is not normal will be labeled as normal. And why does it happen? The answer is obvious. For the society to be destabilized. Why? When society is destabilized, it's getting frightened, it's getting terrorized. So people like the Carlos are meant to terrorize the rest of society. And when the society is terrorized, it's much more easier controlled.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you. Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 374. I'm talking to Tatyana Thulien.
That's correct.
Yes, Tatyana lives in Charlotte. She is an immigrant living in Charlotte, and we're going to talk about the stabbing of Iryna Zarutska on the subway, which happened in late August. Glad I could finally get Tatyana to talk about this, and I figured, she knows the area, so she's going to know what to talk about. So, how are you, Tatyana?
Relatively well. Thank you very much, Chris, for inviting me to your podcast. And I appreciate this another opportunity to share my thoughts, to share how I feel and how most likely the community feels, and what happened, why it happened, and what expected
Yeah.
to happen.
Yeah, Tatyana, how long have you lived in Charlotte or the Charlotte area?
In Charlotte, my family has been living for 14 years. In the United States, I have lived for 27, going on 28.
Oh, okay, in the Charlotte area. So,
In the Charlotte area, 14 years.
okay. So you've lived in America since the 90s.
I lived in, yes, moved here in 1998,
Yeah.
studied here in 1996. So, yes, pretty much 28, 29 years of being associated with the United States of America, and I am a proud American citizen.
Yes. So yeah. So I just wanted to make sure you really know Charlotte. And this happened on and I guess they do have a subway or a train system in Charlotte. Is that correct?
Correct. No subway, but a
Okay.
light train, uh,
Yeah.
blue rail, and it has been here for just about the same time when we moved in
Mhm.
2011. The first line was open, and we were kind of excited. I took my children and we drove that train from downtown to several stops. Mainly, the idea of having the public transportation, of course, is for the purposes of convenience in serving the citizens. Uh, but even from that first ride, I was a bit surprised how unsafe, very close to downtown neighborhoods already looked at that time. And it's a lot of people that do use Blue Rail today. Like probably everywhere else in the United States, you park at certain station and you drive to, you use the train to drive to downtown because you work in a bank or in some kind of other offices and restaurants. The places that function in downtown, in downtowns in the United States are famous for difficult and expensive parking accommodations. So Blue Rail is official public transportation of Charlotte.
Yeah, and sometimes it's expensive, and also sometimes it's just as fast to go on the train. And of course, at least
Correct.
on the train you can read a book or something. You can actually get things done. Whereas if you're driving, you got to focus on the driving. And I
Correct.
think some people just use it to, and some people might even take a nap on the train. But I don't
The
know if
thing is, that when the first time we got on the train in Charlotte, we were kind of like unpleasantly surprised with my children how quickly shiny and clean at that time downtown uh, turned. You know, you look in the window and you see quite
they're.
disturbingly looking neighborhoods. And I gotta say that in Minneapolis, where we lived before, that system was a bit more safe at that time, a bit more developed, and more like in Europe. And I grew up in Soviet Union, where public transportation was and still is in all the countries that are post-Soviet today, including, of course, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and left alone countries like Czechia. I just was in Czechia, and I was using public transportation every day, which is an amazing system, well structured, well secured, and very, very well functioning. So this is one of the biggest downfalls of the United States comparison to Europe, and not just Europe. There, China, um, East Asian countries, they all are enjoying, Malaysia, for example, very much enjoying a very well functioning public transportation system. However, in the United States, somehow it is quite unsafe, and Charlotte now is one of those cities that cannot brag about the safety of public transportation.
Yeah, that's the saddest part about all this. I've always liked Charlotte, and I just hate seeing Charlotte get a black eye like this. It doesn't seem like, but it's really unfortunate that statistically this girl actually would have been, this young lady might have actually been safer in Ukraine than in Charlotte. And this and of course but living in the Soviet Union, you lived, I mean, when you were growing up in the Soviet Union, what percentage of people had cars at all? And I mean, it was definitely a minority,
Mhm.
right?
I would say probably I do not want to manipulate numbers that would be incorrect, but I would say probably 25% for sure had cars, and Moscow and St. Petersburg, of course, they had traffic even
Oh
at
yeah.
that time, even if at that time. But the public transportation, just like in London, just like in New York, was serving the purpose of avoiding traffic and be affordable and safe way of getting wherever you want to. And that's how actually we grew up. Of course, it was not like perfect, and some of those lines of buses and trolleys, they were sometimes overfull, and you literally had to wait for 20, 30 minutes for the bus to come, and then everybody would
Yeah.
try to fill in, and it would have been like sardines in a can. But overall, it was very safe. You made a very correct point that Irina probably was more safe in Ukraine using the public transportation than in Charlotte. That is a starting point of discussing the situation. And as I did say that same thing to several interviews that um, I was a part of, including our local TV stations. If the public transportation in Ukraine, even under the war conditions, is safer than public transportation in peaceful and prosperous Charlotte, the second financial center in the United States after New York, we have a problem. We really do. Irina jumped on that train, not a first time. She's been living in Charlotte for 3 years, and she did run away from unknown future. War is always unknown future, most likely dangerous one. So she came here being 20 years old, looking for a brighter future. She was working 2 jobs. She was working at a pizzeria located right next to that station. And on that Friday night, she just came and sit in a chair, wearing still the T-shirt from that pizzeria and a hat. Why do I mention a hat? She was blonde and she was very attractive. She even became like a model for a makeup artist. And you can see those pictures of hers, let's say before and after the makeup session. So she had on the Facebook and other platforms. So she was very attractive. She was looking forward to develop her career in this maybe field, or maybe she wanted to be a veterinarian, as we know from a very, very modest amount of information that we have in our possession. However, she put her blonde hair, her hair, under that hat that she was wearing. She sit on a chair. She pulled her phone out of her pocket. She had it in her hand and she was looking at it. And it happened so that behind her was sitting a creature. I really, I have a hard time calling that a human being. It's a creature that was not well, that was possessed with obviously some problems, mental problems, and I think more than that, just mental problems. It was a complex. It was a creature full of aggressive feelings, hate, and desire to do something about it. So when he sees that young lady and that fragile neck in front of him, he was driven to hurt her.
Yeah.
And it didn't take too long. He pulled out a knife and just within the seconds, he stabbed her 3 times. 3 times. There are several videos that depict that tragic moment, but one of them really caught my attention. It was released a lot later than other ones that we saw. They were kind of filmed uh, from the front of where she was sitting, and De Carlos Brown was sitting behind her. And we saw how he uh, stands up, rises behind her, some kind of uh, force, evil force, and stabs her. And then what happened further, I really was able to see from other videos that captured the moments from the side. And those videos clearly did show that he was watching her dying. He was watching like a hunter would watch a deer die or a pheasant. And he was screaming, I got a white girl.
Yes, he was. And of course, and we also see that he has 14 prior arrests. Or, I mean, everybody's been scratching their head just asking, why was this guy out? I mean, he clearly had a record here.
Of course he did. He did. And those records were not just some little, quite innocent or not so dangerous articles. It was robberies, uh, really misdemeanors and felonies.
Yeah.
He served 5 years in jail, but the official position, attitude of Charlotte's administration is not to think about it, is
Yeah.
to provide the environment for those who are troubled with mental aggressive issues with, they claim it's schizophrenia, possibly, possibly. But if such aggressive people that are getting kicked out of their own house, his own mother kicked him out because of his aggressive behavior, they need professional help, and professional help cannot be found on the streets. Professional help is provided in the facilities. And if there is a danger, and that is a specific article in North Carolina law, if an individual provides a potential danger to the residents of North Carolina, he needs to be locked up, despite what his physical or mental conditions are. I just was a part of the hearing as an interpreter in the court of another murder, another Ukrainian that was murdered, and that was in Johnston County in the North Carolina, next to Raleigh, our capital. So the truck driver that came here with his family from Ukraine, also trying to find bright future in a country that was facing the flames of war. He came here. He lived in Chicago. His family, his wife, now widow, and two children at that time, minor children. That happened in 2023, March of 2023. So he was a truck driver. Quite soon, he became a truck driver ever since he came into the country with his family. So he was parking his truck on the edge in the appropriate area, but he was killed by the DWI driver that was passing by and hit the trailer with vehicles and the truck itself. And then finally, a driver killed him on the spot and was so drunk that when the vehicle stopped after those three collisions, he fell asleep. And when the policeman came and pulled him out of the vehicle and asked, "Do you understand what happened?" He said, "It's a beautiful day." "Do you understand you killed a human being?" "It's a beautiful day. I just had a good nap." And that wasn't his first DWI. No, it wasn't. It was at least third or fourth DWIs, but he also was able to somehow start the vehicle, was able to drive, and he created the danger. And that's why the prosecutor of the Johnston County, and that was already the Supreme Court of North Carolina that was going through that case. That's why he asked for a higher time to serve in a prison, because he created a danger, potential danger for the residents of North Carolina. So why, if in Johnston County they can do that, let's say, yes, it's already happened, the tragedy happened, and there's no wife no more but a widow. There are orphans now, not just a whole family with father. Why in Charlotte, someone that exposes potential danger, carries out potential danger, is outside on the streets? We have to ask our leadership. We ask to have Mayor Violilas, who I know personally, who appointed me to be on the Charlotte Community Relationship Committee in 2022 as a part of the Russian speaking, Ukrainian speaking community in Charlotte, because I did organize quite a few cultural events, music events, and so on. So I served on this committee, and how many times I asked for help to create a support system for Russian Ukrainian speaking immigrants that come to Charlotte running away from war and from uh, regime in Russia. So we have hundreds of immigrants that come here, but they're not aware. Many of them are not aware of what is happening actually in downtown Charlotte or downtown New York or downtown Chicago. But we live in Charlotte. You see, when I came in the United States in 1998, when Iryna came in 2022, how do we know America that we come to? We know United States from amazing movies. We watch the movies, and in those movies, the police always come in time, and the law is enforced, and they're professional. They come to serve and protect you. They are actually literally called public servants. But somehow today, the law is not enforced. Somehow today, public servants are not allowed to help. A lot of times. A lot of times they are blocked. They are limited in the last 5, 6, 7 years to perform their duties. And that is a consequences from the political ideology that has been thrown on our society, I mean American society, for several decades now. And that creates what we have.
Yes, it's what Robert Bednato called the excuse making industry. I mean, all these making excuses for all these people, and this is why these people are out on, and I don't know why they're out. I mean, this is one thing that I mean, this guy would have been in jail for a long time probably if he'd been in Russia or in a lot of places in the
Of
former
course,
Eastern Bloc. There's no way he'd be walking the streets.
not
If he's in Western Europe, he'd probably get about the same treatment. They just let him go, you know. But yeah, and of course, I do want to point out the judge's name is Teresa Stokes. That's who recently let him free. So I don't know what grounds there was, but that was the reason why. You know, I mean, Devin Erickson likes to say we can either put the criminals in prison or we can all live in a prison, and that's basically what we have here. It's you know,
absolutely, absolutely correct. Um, why he was let go? It's the consequences of the softened crime policy that
yeah,
was, again, right, enforced several years ago. And of course, George Floyd, that somehow fell on the ground in May 2020, right before the hottest stage of election. I still don't believe that it was just a coincidence. I believe it was something that had to happen, had to be seen, had to be heard, and had to be blown out of proportion, and then was a reason to start a race war. For what?
yeah.
For the
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into a racial issue. I think if you got that many convictions, you should probably be in jail no matter what. But
absolutely.
it certainly makes me wonder, and it just makes me wonder how it seems like we're. I don't know if we're just having more of a mental health crisis in this country or not, but I think we are. We certainly, uh, we certainly have a crisis of more and more boys being raised without their dads around, and I think that's huge, and other things. And you all do have the November 4th. You'll be going to the polls and electing a new mayor too. Coincidentally enough.
Yes, we will. And normally in Charlotte, it's kind of a doom deal to be a candidate for mayor. And I did
Mhm.
run for the office, as you probably know. I did run for the Board of Commissioners at large, which
Yeah.
of course includes the greater Charlotte area. And it's not enough today for a Republican to win such position. However, today it may be a chance, maybe, because of what happened with Viola and because of her disgusting reaction. She's shown no remorse, no compassion, nothing. Her reaction was, her first reaction and further on reaction was, we're going to take care of mental ill people. There's no way we're going to back off on that. So there was nothing like, I'm sorry it happened. There was no attempts to reach out to the family. There was no attempts to say the life is lost, young, beautiful life is lost in veins. I will do anything possible and everything possible to make the environment in Charlotte. Safe. That's all you had to say. But we have not heard that. No one has heard that. And that was an avalanche of disappointment that she faced, and she had to turn her email off and her phone off. And for me, it's pretty much personal. I have been on that committee. I asked for help. I emailed her in 2022, in 2023, in 2024, asking, can we meet? Can we meet with representatives of our communities and see how we can serve the community better? Because you serve other communities. You do. You have sources for other communities, but you don't have sources for East European communities. Isn't it a sign of discrimination? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Could be. I mean, certainly, and
Where's
certainly,
our focus today? Where is the leadership's focus today?
and
On
she's also been mayor. She's been mayor since 2017. It looks. The mayor only is 2 years, so 17, 19, 21, 23, and she's running again in 25. So
Of course she does. Of course she does run. But the whole situation around this uh, tragic murder, this vicious murder, was very much quiet for the first few days. And only 2 days later, WCOS came to my house and took the interview, did the interview with me. But some crucial points that I made, including our leadership failed us, our city officials failed us, they were not included in the interview. You can see that. I mean, it's online, it's on YouTube. You can see that. But those remarks that I made, including that remark that public transportation in Ukraine under war is safer than prosperous Charlotte. And that is a problem, a big problem, the problem. So we addressed Donald Trump's office with this situation.
yeah,
We wrote a letter to Donald Trump. And through his family, we were able to convey the message. I'm sure we were not the only ones, but we have, and we've got the response. And all of a sudden, we see that Donald Trump, he says, I am sorry, family of Iryna Zarutska. Here are my condolences to you. And then it became national. Then it became world news. But our own local platforms were quite timid to let it out. It was scandalous. It was tragic. It was absolutely impossible to comprehend. A girl come here for the better future, and she gets stabbed on a train, public transportation that is created to make our lives better. It's impossible. It's impossible to comprehend. That's why it was kept under the under the tabletop, and that's why it got so big eventually. And what were Democratic representatives saying about it in Charlotte? Not much, right? And who was? Who was? And it was Republican Party leadership. MAC GOP, North Carolina GOP leaders, Kyle Kirby played the biggest role in it. Edwin Peacock, our city council member, they played crucial role in organizing the national press conference, in setting the place up, in calling all the platforms. Unfortunately, on September 10th, when we had that gathering, and really, there was everyone, CNN, Fox, Forbes, local stations, MSNBC, as it was airing the, the press conference, and I was honored to be a part of it, and I was honored to deliver small remarks and sing the national anthem during that uh, press conference. And as soon as it was aired, another tragedy happened. Charlie Kirk was killed.
Yes, as I've commented, it seems like Charlie Kirk's death took Iryna out of the spotlight, so to speak. But then this actually happened on August 22nd. Tatyana, how did this video initially get out? Because it seems like to me it was buried for a while. It didn't really show up anywhere until about the first week of September.
You are absolutely correct. So first, we've got photo images, let's say
Yeah,
screenshots from those videos, but the demand grew so high. Plus, the guy was arrested. But again, he was arrested and he somehow was damaged himself. So when we see the video footage and how he stabs her, then he walks around, he stands by the door, he looks at her and observes her falling down, bleeding down to death. And then only from that video that I mentioned in the beginning of our program, that was filmed from the side, not from the uh, front of both who was a part of that situation, Iryna and the Carlos. But when you see that from the side and you see how she's, first of all, she looks in despair and she's frightened. She understands that's it. She has to go. Her life is going away from her body. And then she slowly falls down and like a just little baby. And he is watching her. He is enjoying that moment. He really does. But then you see it looks on a black and white version that was released as a just a pile of ink, but it was her blood that just flew out of her body, and he was watching that.
yeah,
And people were standing around afraid to do anything, or did they even care? But you were asking about the video. I think that the video was so scary. Video was so dramatically uh, not just traumatizing, it was absolutely impossible to watch. It was a real uh, reality murder, reality show murder, so to speak. Forgive me if I'm offending anybody, but that's what it was. And I think that it was released due to demand, due to police work, due to investigation that was launched. But if not such an amazing demand that leadership of the city faced, maybe we wouldn't even see it. Maybe we would have just seen the just pieces, just a little here and there. But then footage after footage was released, and the whole world just was in a disbelief, literally disbelief.
I think when people see something like this happen, their first reaction might be disbelief. I mean, it's like, did I really just see this happen? I mean,
Correct.
and it happens so fast that you don't really you got to process it. It just it's such a shocking thing to see, and then but by the time it does happen, you just because that's the first thing your body you just go into shock and think, oh my goodness, it's and I mean unless you've been around and seen something like this before, you're not really going to know what to do. But yes, it did look like nobody
Absolutely.
really went after him or but we haven't seen all the footage, so it is quite unfortunate. And you got a guy with a knife, so it's kind of scary if you don't have a knife. You never know what that guy's going to do next. But
Correct.
there's also
Correct.
this feeling, of how do we stop this guy? Because I don't want to get stabbed either. But
What if he has a gun in his
yeah,
pocket?
yeah, we don't know if he has a gun or not, too. Yes, exactly.
What if he has another knife or something else that he can hurt those that want to confront him? So as soon as he got out, like the next station or something, right? People did come to her.
Yeah,
People did come and pull their jackets off and started to
yeah,
attempt. There were attempts to stop her bleeding it was just too late.
Yeah.
He made sure she's gone.
Yeah.
He
I mean,
made sure. He waited for that and he was so excited. He got like really agitated. He pulled his sweatshirt off, and he was like it really reminded me, forgive me, friends, but it reminded me of some kind of ritual. You see, like in the Avatar movie, or when the prey is killed, and okay, I got it, I got you. And that's exactly what he said, I got the white girl.
yeah, it's really wild. And yeah,
Disturbing.
there's a lot of things you don't know. I assume you're not allowed to. Are you allowed to take guns or weapons on this train or not? Or what are the
I
regulations on
don't
that?
think so. I
Yeah,
don't think so. But he had a small knife. That
yeah.
was a folding knife. It's probably is sold in all kind of stores, in Home Depot, hunting stores, Walmart. Probably, you can kill with the letter opening knife
Oh
if you
yeah, or
if you want to.
yeah.
If you
There's
have
a lot of things.
the sorry.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things you can hurt people with. It's rather scary to think about what you can do with simple things. Like a letter opener, or even you could even poke somebody with a screwdriver. You know, I mean
Of
those are
course.
pretty sharp. If you There's a lot of things that can be turned into
Or a
weapons.
nail. Or a long nail. Sure.
Yeah, long nail. It's a
Scissors. That's all kind of things that can poke and cut, can be used
yeah,
against people. That's why uh, those that are well, normal people that are not in
yeah,
maybe some kind of effect situation, they probably wouldn't do that. It's one of the most important things. The life is sacred.
yeah, and considering where he stabbed her, I mean, she really probably didn't have a chance. I mean, it wasn't like stabbing in the leg or stabbing in the arm. He got her right where you want to get somebody if you want him to go quickly. I don't know how were they close to a hospital there or anything like that or
He was right behind her. He already knew
yeah,
where he's gonna do that. As he just raised behind her, like some kind of golem, some kind of monster. I'm sorry, but it
yeah,
did look that way. Some kind of ogre that was ready to take his um, chosen target. He already knew what he's gonna do. Instantly, something triggered him. He said that she was reading his mind in a communication with his sister that came to jail. He said he understood that she was reading his
mm,
mind. He has heard voices, and also he said that there was some man-made materials, like an instrument that was put on him, that controlled what he was thinking, controlled what he was doing, controlled what he has done to her. Oh, come on, come on. If we have people like that on streets, where are we gonna end up at?
I really do wonder where we're going to end up, and they don't want to incarcerate people like this, but then they will arrest people, for their political positions. It's really troubling where we are right now. I
Well, we talked about Soviet Union. We talked about history a little bit. Let's go back in the Russian history and see what was happening before and after the revolution. Essentially, the same. The destabilizing of the society was in full gear. And as it says in the Bible, there are times when normal is declared to be not normal. And what is not normal will be labeled as normal. And why does it happen? The answer is obvious. For the society to be destabilized. Why? When society is destabilized, it's getting frightened, it's getting terrorized. So people like the Carlos are. meant to terrorize the rest of society. And when the society is terrorized, it's much more easier controlled. And we come to the final point. So the ideology of political correction, ideology of tolerance to criminals, ideology of not being tough on crime and demonizing police is creating much more than usual destabilization in a society. And this society will be torn. And those that want society to be torn strive. They're happy. All right. Those that are normal will be frightened, will be terrorized, and they will be afraid to say anything against that politic of terror and instability. And here we go. People are depressed, people are frightened, they get on antidepressants. And can they make conscious and sober decisions when they are on a bunch of pills, opioids? We have opioids crisis in the country. We had heroin, and we still do crisis. We have fentanyl crisis, and that all targets certain parts of our population, mostly young people. Did you know, guys? Did you know, friends, that fentanyl and other drugs now are a number one cause of death in the United States for the age 15 to 43?
Sure, we've got all these crazy people on the street, and I don't know what we can do with them. It seems like they don't have families. I do wonder, maybe crazy drug addiction was a problem with this because there's a lot of people who just don't have any hope anymore in our society. I mean, I know you came here, Tatyana, as an immigrant, and most immigrants I argue with me a lot about this, but I'm very pessimistic about the future of my country. I, I'm, I mean, I sometimes do look at the former Eastern Bloc countries and it says, well, they seem like they were inoculated against this but I mean, it's hard to say sometimes where there is hope.
The hope is, first of all, number one, is faith and love, but it is also in your internal strength. And that internal strength is in your own stamina and in the basic unit of the society, which is family. And family was on the target for decades as well as the basic unit of our society, as the cell of the society, the fist of the society. But family stands on values of love, strength, understanding, forgiveness, but also there is another thing, education. And education is not a priority of today's leadership, of democratic leadership. It's not. Look what is happening in North Carolina. Only 32% of our high school graduates can read. Seriously? So we have our country being dumbed down, being drugged up, being fooled, brainwashed, concentrating on wars, on some external problems in other countries that shouldn't be our concern. We have to be concentrated on our own society, on our own values, on family, mother and father, grandpa and grandma, children, grandchildren. And what do they do to our children in colleges and universities? Isn't it why Charlie was killed? Because he was applying values of normality to the growing generations. So that's where we address, and that's what Mr. Trump is doing. That's what our president and his administration, at least, is trying to do, despite all the resistance, despite all the military industrial complex moguls, despite all the democratic ideological hawks. that want only one thing: control.
Yes. I think, well, if for this problem to get fixed, I think the law schools will have to be fixed personally.
It's a great point.
Yes.
It's a great point that law has to be enforced, right? And the system of law enforcement has to be uh, supported. It has to be financed, and it has to be, again, an institution of prestige, institution of depicting how important it is to have someone that is there ready to punish crime, take away criminals. So our real society actually becomes again coherent to what we see on TV, to what we see in those great movies that we loved, where the United States is a country of law, a society that obeys the law and punishes criminals, punishes murderers, not nourishes them. This is how we're supposed to move on. Academic education, stop wokeness, stop transhumanism, concentrate on what Donald Trump right away, his first day, female and a male. The family is a foundation. Normality is a foundation. Stop mutilating our children. I've heard that from him myself, sitting at the convention in 2024 in in our great state of North Carolina.
Yes. Are less people using the public transportation now? Do we have more people driving, or have you noticed any kind of change since this incident?
You mean in Charlotte?
Yes.
Ooh, it's a great question. I believe that those that have to go to downtown and use, and it's primarily their way of getting to their work, they still do use it. The problem with transportation is that the tickets are not checked, the tickets are not shown. And this one of the way to filter those that just don't want to obey the rules and laws. So that has to be enforced. Also, um, security. Mm, Journalists from WCOS, I'm sorry, that conducted interview with me, they told me, and it actually is also in that interview, that they checked 5 stations in a row and there was no security, neither of them.
Yeah.
So security is also important. While hopefully the system will be repaired, system will be enforced with more professionals. We need 600 officers in Mecklenburg County. We're
Yes.
lacking 600 officers. How do we get those officers? We have to stop demonizing police.
We
They
do. Yeah. And we've got to stop letting these people go. I think it's got to be very demoralizing when you work hard to get evidence and get somebody convicted and then say, "Oh, we'll just let them go." Yeah. It's certainly it's really becoming an issue. I And sometimes I wonder where do we go from here? It seems like maybe this is a wake up call, or maybe it isn't. It's hard to say.
it is.
Yeah,
It's exactly a wake up
yeah,
call. And look for the response when we had in Charlotte the candle ceremony, the vigil. And
yeah,
again, was honored and asked by Kyle Kirby and other leaders of GOP party to be a part of it. I did sing there, but look how many people came. There were a few thousands of people. There were people of all skin colors, of all races there, Black and Asian
yes,
and East European and Americans, white Americans as well. There were people from Mexico and Guatemala, from Venezuela and other countries. And they all were asking for justice for Iryna. And that's why Iryna's law will be in place. And that's why the petition was up to change and rename the station to Iryna Zarutska station. And
oh,
again, and again, we have to praise our General Assembly that passed that. law. And it was on the table of Josh Stein, our governor, for 9 days before he finally signed it. Can you imagine what we would have had potentially if he would have just vetoed that? As another one was vetoing all the bills,
Yes.
he had to sign it. He understood, he felt that he is walking on a very, very, very thin ice. So he had to sign it. And this station will be carrying her name. And that will be a constant reminder that that's what happens when you destroy the society. Society shows its ugly wounds and asks to be repaired. We are asking and demanding that our society would be repaired, would be normal, would be livable.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have anything else more to say about this, Tatiana. I did notice this article in
Oh, yeah. Yes.
about something about a phenomena happening with the New York mayoral race. Now you're not in New York, but it's still it was talking about children of people who fled the Eastern Bloc, the Soviet Union, and their kids are now out campaigning for Mandami, and I'm thinking, wondering, they're going out and camp. Their parents fled communism, and now their kids are going out and campaigning for a communist, Zoran Mamdani. It's a Zorhan Mamdani, and I'm just wondering what happened here. It's just, this is kind of shocking. And you've got kids yourself, right? So
I
obviously you
do.
told
I
them
do. I
about
have
why this
four.
system doesn't work.
I have four, and you are just making a point, sending I should say, an arrow to my soul because my boys are more like constitutionalists. All of my children are grown up, and my ladies are more towards liberal, and one of them is very much um oriented to that direction. And I cannot say that I fled formal Soviet Republic to find a new life here. I married a man that we fell in love when I was studying here, and I had quite comfortable life in Sevastopol, in Crimea, where I lived for 18 years. My dad was a military officer. But why we see that trend? Because again, our children that we trusted to the system, to the public education system, we thought, okay, actually our education in Soviet Union was amazingly wonderful. It was great. It was so academically focused. Yes, it did have that ideology fragments, of course, and we had so much of it that we were getting just sick of it. I had in my university 5 semesters of disciplines that were related in one or other way to the Marxism, to the history of Communistic Party of Soviet Union. 5 semesters. Okay, so when I see people young people that do announce here, I'm a Marxist. Really? What do you know about Marxism? What have you read? Have you actually read anything? Have you read Lenin? Have you read Marx? Have you read Capital? Just looking at you, I don't believe you that you have read 2 straight pages out of this monumental work. And it is monumental. You can have your different opinions on that and analyze it, just like we analyze, right? Fountainhead, I see that Fountainhead forum. But they don't read it. They just are given points that socialistic society is better because it's not as vile as capitalistic society. And they believe it. They don't analyze. That's the deal. Shallow, very shallow approach. That's the key. That's the key. because there's no other way, right? If you are given the pieces of information and you say that's correct because there's no other way, it cannot be wrong, you got it. So the youth is taking that because it's presented to them as the only cure to the society, to the wounded by capitalism society, to hurt by capitalism society. And eventually, they don't understand one simple thing, that socialistic society is not that simple and is not that kind. It has a lot of pluses, but you live under complete control. And if I ask any of them, what is the difference between socialistic economics and capitalistic economics? They will not give the answer. They won't, because they don't know it. Because to know it, you have to actually
Yes.
read those words. They don't.
Yes, it is.
That's why
It's
they believe. And our children goes through that education system. We didn't know that. We trusted that system, and we've got what we've got because we did not have really control over that. System worked towards that, and we're not the only ones. American parents lose their children as well, left and right.
yes, they do. Well, Tatiana, this has been a good talk. Before I go, also, I do want to give a plug for Zeppedy's Pizzeria. They put up a nice little tribute to Iryna on their webpage. I don't know if I maybe next time I'm in Charlotte, I'll give their pizza a try. So it's always I
Of
don't know if
course,
you.
we can do that together. Of course,
Yeah, that'd
I'm
be a good idea.
coming um, for the conference that will happen in the spring, right?
Yes,
And um, I'm
we're
sure that I
coming.
will see you maybe more before that. And again,
Yeah.
thank you for the invitation. One little thing for your audience and for you.
Yes.
We are grieving about parents from Poland, from Ukraine, from Russia that do lose their children to the socialistic ideology. The number one example of that will be Sergey Brin, the founder of Google, one of
Yes.
the founders of Google. His father is devastated. He was a Jewish refugee. So this is
Yes.
one of the examples that maybe will blow your mind. Thank you again.
But there are children who often do stay, who do follow their parents in their ideology. It does
Of
work that way.
course. And
Yes.
that's where the hope is. That's where the hope is.
Well, thank you, Tatiana. Tatiana, where can people find you out on the web? Uh, are you on
Um,
Twitter?
okay. So I
Yes.
am on a Facebook, and it is Tatyana Thulien on the Facebook. I am on Telegram, and we actually do have a couple of channels. They're called
Mm.
Crossroad Eagles or Перекресток на русском. I just said that in Russian. And we produce a lot of videos pretty much every day. And we conduct interviews with some prominent people, politologists from Ukraine, from Russia, from United States. And we just recently did the interview with ex-Prime Minister of Ukraine, Nikolai Azarov, that gave us an amazing picture of what happened in
Yes.
2014. We are getting right now subtitles, English subtitles done, and we will be happy to share that information with you.
Yes, and also people, Tatiana can sing.
Thank you.
She,
I can. On
she
YouTube, you can find Ave Maria. You can find other pieces. So please subscribe, listen,
okay.
like,
Yes,
and thank you, Chris.
yes.
Again, appreciate it.
Please like this show, subscribe to the channel, go buy my novel Escape from the Village, check out my Substack, and you can give me money at buymeacoffee.com. Thank you, Tatyana Thulien. I'm Chris Baker. We're out. Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.